Risk is in the eye of the beholder, and that is a big problem. Fans of true horror will know the cryptic line from the 1976 movie Marathon Man. Is it safe? It was calmly repeated over and over in a terrifying scene between Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, the former bound to a dental chair by the latter, a Nazi war criminal turned U.S. spy agency informant. Hoffman's character, Babe, could make no sense of the question at all, even with the extreme prompt of an anesthesia-free dental exam. He does, however, understand immediately that he is not safe in any way, and that his very life is at risk. The current social panic, triggered by a pathogen that we cannot taste nor see, and is carried by virtually anyone, friend or foe, is reminiscent of this movie. This is the social downside of the health emergency. How we perceive risk in the world, and how we then treat others in light of that perception. Here in Vancouver, where I live, we are urged by the public health authorities to be kind. That is great advice, even in normal times, but sadly seems to be ignored by many in today's environment. Rather, there is a deep-seated desire to insult, shame, and condemn others, to force them to comport with the other person's self-defined mode of acceptable behavior. Health concerns beget anxiety, and that in turn produces fear and dislike of others. It is a nasty and truly unnecessary mix. These social hall monitors are not wrong in thinking that there is risk out there. Their mistake is rather in thinking that it is dangerous everywhere. After all, the mere fact of coming close to another individual is not dangerous per se. The actual risk is the probability of contracting the virus and becoming ill. Those odds in turn depend on the physics of transmission, the health of the individual, and most importantly, the likelihood that a person or contaminated surfaces are spreading the virus. Fear and anxiety arise in some people because of that last factor. Unlike the first two, it can never be known, given asymptomatic transmission and a visibly undetectable pathogen. That is the ultimate motivation for those who scold others. We cannot truly know our enemy, and so we are all potential combatants on a field of battle that is literally everywhere. In actual fact, though, and in contrast to these fearful few, we cope with risk in the world every day by being wary and by judging it according to circumstances. Risk assessment is a spectrum of possibilities, not an on-off button labeled safe or deadly. There are sensible approaches to risk assessment, targeted, measured, and matched against reality. And so we can rate how people and governments have done during this crisis. The answer for the latter group is not so well. For example, most policy measures to fight the pandemic have been one size fits all, and we have quarantined the entire health population, a complete inversion of the normal policy of quarantining the sick alone. That's not targeting. Most governments also put in place their most stringent restrictions right when the peak level of contagion was occurring, after dragging their feet through the first 2 months of known contagion. Too little policy at first, and far too much later, was not a measured response, and so fails our second test of sensible risk assessment. The third and final strike against most governments' actions is how well the policies match reality. Some places were tight with policy, and some were loose. and yet contagion mostly flowed through the policy measures. There was also little forward thinking and preventive policy action, even with the early examples of Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea. You know, a sensible approach to risk assessment actually offers a way out of this mess, which is completely a function of our state of mind. We simply have to accept the risk of the pandemic in the same way that we accept all other public health risks, like illness, suicides, and car accidents. Under this approach, we collectively decide how to reduce the risk through social distancing and other measures, in the same way that car design, speed limits, and seatbelt use prevent, but do not eliminate, suffering on our roads. In answer to the question, is it safe? No, it's never safe, but we go on with our lives anyway. I'm Mark Mullins.